Good morning, everybody. Here's Bruce C. Rivers at Los Banos today. We're having a good time today. We're actually starting out. We got some of our local people running for some of our local offices and our county supervisor. This is the west side of Merced County, if you didn't know that. And so we're going to interview one of my dear friends, a young man I've known for a while, Richard Delapaz Jr. How you doing this morning, Richard?
Good morning. Fantastic.
We're wishing you great success in your attempt to be our county supervisor and for Area 5. Now, so you know about Richard, him and his lovely wife, Michelle, they have DLP Real Estate Incorporated. I've always liked that when I saw it. I said, the DLP must mean Delapaz. So it made sense to me. It's a great name first time I saw it when I first met you a few years back. And want to let you know up front, and you'll get some more information, their campaign office is at 1272 4th Street in Los Banos, and if you want to call them at 209-826-6245. So that's where you can reach him. If you want to help him, you want to work in the campaign, you want to door knock and all that stuff that you're doing right now. Because matter of fact, I was telling my wife, I came out the door Saturday, and one of your door knockers was on my door. And I had just talked to you the day before. But look, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just dig a little deeper, and I'm going to ask you some questions about this run and why you want to be who you are. Tell us who you are. So I'm going to open up and let you just tell us something about you. Tell us your age. Tell us about your wife. Tell us about your family, so we get to know the real you. So Richard Delapaz, tell us who you are.
Thank you. Should I talk to you?
You talk to me. Talk to the camera. Talk to the people. Yeah, talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Richard Delapaz. I've been here since 2007, 2006, I believe. So my daughter was second grade at Volta when we first moved out here. We came out to Los Banos we bought a house. We bought a house over here, and we came from Watsonville, where I was actually elected to city council over in that area.
Man, I'm just Bruce on TV.
Okay. Bruce. I've been married 19 years. I have four kids. My oldest daughter, Rochelle, is at UC Santa Barbara right now.
What?
And she graduated from Los Banos.
She's a gaucho.
Yeah, she's a gaucho. She's a sophomore. She's doing good. My son is 15. He's Richard. I have two younger children, Rylan and Reagan. They're at Volta. So all my kids have went through Volta. They all are going to go through the middle school. But my wife and I have DLP Real Estate. And we've done well for ourselves. You know, we do property management, and we did REOs, but that's not how it always was. Back in 2007, and I'm not sure about the date, but that's about the time that it was. We had lost all our houses. We had some houses here in Los Banos.
Yeah, the economy turned.
The economy turned. We had just moved out from Watsonville, and we lost everything. We didn't have any money for food. We didn't have any money for PG&E. A lot of people were leaving real estate because we're real estate agents, still are now. And so people wanted us to, especially my in-law and my mom at the time was like, why don't you guys get a job? You know, you guys don't have any money. You have kids. You have rent.
Get this real estate thing,
yeah. Nobody was buying, right? And nobody could buy. And so people were afraid too because they had just lost all their earnings. And so we came out here, and I still wanted to do real estate. I always wanted in my life to own my own company, and that was just I worked for Granite Rock, which is a big mining company in Watsonville. Yeah, in Watsonville, and it was a private company though, so I was never going to own it. They didn't have shares, they didn't have any of that. Right. So I always wanted my own company. And my wife, she was a military family. Her father's retired military. They're very safe, you know. You get a monthly check, and you get insurance, and you get all those things, which is great.
Hoorah!
But that's not, And I was in the military, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to have my own business. So when we came out here, that's what I wanted to do. When we lost everything, it kind of set us back. I mean, I think it set everybody back, not just us.
There was 6,000 empty houses in Los Banos and Merced at that time.
And one of the houses that we bought, we paid for $315,000 on Santa Ana. The bank repoed it, sold it, listed it, sold it for $34,000.
Wow!
And so that's just when. Anyways, that's when the economy crashed. But I always wanted to own my own business.
Okay.
So when we came out here, we started, I wanted, I got my broker's license, and so we just went door to door. We didn't have any business, right? We didn't have any business. We went door to door. We were doing what they call BPOs. You do valuations on properties. You make like $25 to $35, $50, depending on which company's giving it to you. We lived off that. We did that. I don't know if you ever remember, but next to the thrift shop, Fernandez Thrift Shop, next to me and Ed's, there was a trailer right there. There was a trailer on the side of it. That was my first office.
Wow.
That was my first office. And then I made a deal, Bill Wyrick, I made a deal with him to manage he was renting a little unit suites across the street next to Santos Ford. And that was part of my deal.
The little long building.
Yeah, the little long building.
Yeah.
So we moved there.
Okay.
We moved there. So, and we, at this time, the only money that we were making, because nobody was buying houses at the time, right, was these BPOs, right?
Okay.
And so we're making about $2,500 a month, which sounds like okay, but not for everything that we were doing. And so eventually we kept moving up. We moved over by the movie theater. We got our office now, which is the 1272 4th Street. We're fortunate enough to buy that, and we've been in that. We've been grinding away, and I've stayed away from politics. I've stayed away from all that sort of stuff because I focused on my business. And so I sit here now. I'm from Watsonville, born and raised. I was in the military. I was in the Navy. I graduated from UC Santa Cruz with economics, and so I'm a banana slug.
Yeah.
And my kids all the time, they make fun of me. You're banana. It's not my fault. I'm banana slug.
My daughter's a banana slug.
So, one of the reasons, if I could tell you a story, I went to the military, to the Navy for five years. When I was getting out of the military, I applied for UC Davis. I was accepted to UC Davis. And my mom really pushed school. My mom had me when she was 16. Okay. She stopped going to school when she was ninth grade. She worked in the fields. She wanted me to go to school. So I said, fine. I went to school. The military paid for my first 2 years, and then they were going to pay for my last 2 years. And then I was scheduled to go to UC Davis. I got accepted, economics. And then we came home for vacation when I got out of the military. I went to Watsonville. I was in a class because I had about 3 or 4 months before school started at UC Davis. I was buying a house in UC Davis, and what happened is I wanted to run for city council in Watsonville. Okay, my wife didn't want me to do it. My mom and my dad didn't want me to do it because they wanted me to finish school. Yeah,
of course.
Right? Yeah.
Parents' dream.
Ultimately, I made a deal with them. I said, look, if you let me run for city council, and I won, I will finish school at UC Santa Cruz. So I did, and then we moved out here.
What a great story. That's that American success situation, and I'm very honored to know about it, and thank you. And I want to say, for the record, you and your wife don't look like I got 4 kids, because y'all look like teenagers. Me, myself, look, I'm Santa Claus number 3, so, but what a great story, and we appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. Now, how long you been in Los Banos now?
We've been in Los Banos. My daughter is, I want to say, she was 2nd grade. So about 13 years is when we came out to Los Banos.
I remember when you opened your office on 4th Street, because I had came by, because a couple of members of the church I was with at that time, they had gotten a house from you, and they were kind of doing a little messing up, and I had to come in on my knees, crawl into your wife to ask her not to put them out. Try to put them out. They needed to go, but
You do property management.
Yeah, I do property management now.
That's what we're doing. We're doing property management. And with my wife, she knows the people. She cares. But you hear every day when people come, there's struggles. Not every. Go ahead.
I'm struggling now, but we'll talk about that after this. Listen, I got a couple of questions that I really want to get to here that I think will bring everybody up to speed on the fact that now you're running for county supervisor of Area 5. Is that, I think, District 5. District 5, okay. And let me, I'm the marvel of these doggone telephones to let you bring everything up. My first question to you, as we sit here today, you look right in that camera, and I want you to tell people why you are running for county supervisor.
I care about the district. You know, I've been here, Los Banos, the districts. You know, we go all the way to Merced. They've been good to me. You know, they've been good to my wife. They've been good to my kids. They've allowed us to provide, you know, a lot of luxuries. You know, we own a house, we own a business, we own some real estate. So that's all from the people here. You know, and that goes to Los Banos. That goes. I mean, we've sold houses in Santa Anela. We rent houses in Santa Anela. The agents in our office, they've allowed us to provide for my family. So now I do have a lot of experiences where I can give back, and that's, to me, is one of the most important. Is I care about what kind of district my kids are gonna have.
And just so the people know, District 5 encompasses Dos Palos, Los Banos, Santa Anela, Gustine, and Volta.
Not Gustine City, but it runs up the
part of
that's one
Gustine.
the border, yes.
Okay, the borderline
Yes.
and all that. So that's a great area, and that's what we call the west side of Merced County. And I'm an advocate for everything going on the west side. Believe me, because sometimes, hey, we get left out of stuff over. You know, Merced got out. You know, the money comes in, it goes to Merced, and sometimes it doesn't always come back. So we always want to have that supervisor that will fight for the west side.
Yeah.
You know, because we're 35 miles from the county seat. You know, and but fighting for the things that are needed in our community, and you got to have that heart. You already have the understanding of the political aspiration and all that. And we're happy for that. It's not made for everybody, believe me. So those are your reasons, some of your reasons for running. And here's my second question. Now I want to know what experiences you have that to help you represent District 5.
Well, I think I have the education, I have the business, and I think the business part of it sometimes gets left unsaid because we started that business from the bottom. You know, everything all the money that we spent there, that goes directly. You know, that's my own money. So you have to be frugal. The county budget right now is almost $1 billion.
Wow.
Okay, that's a lot of money that either comes here to the west side or doesn't come here to the west side. You know, they're responsible for the transportation. You know, they're responsible. That's a lot of road maintenance, a lot of Dos Palos, the surrounding roads. They're not. We meet with one of the guys that I talked to, Richard Delapaz. He was in the unincorporated area, and since the county's taken him over, we've talked about this. And you just have to drive over there, and you live. You know, your church is over there. The roads aren't in the best shape.
Oh, amen.
So that's a lot of money that could be spent. And I know it's Merced County as a whole. We are one. But the west side needs the representation to get some of that money here.
And so, you know, that means you have to work with the local mayors. You got to work with April over there and Dos Palos, the first female mayor in this area, and Mike Villalta here in Los Banos. And now, Gustine is Dennis not the mayor anymore, but Mr. Brazil. Yeah. He's not the mayor anymore.
But it's Gustine.
Gustine's got part of
it.
Yeah. All those areas don't have those things, but you got to work with those.
And all people. Those areas, anything that's inside the city council is responsibility of the city. But like I've told people, you have to work with the city officials. Right. Chief Breezy, we sat down, he came by the office, we talked about, you know, he has social, he works with the police, the chief police. Yeah. But one of the things we're talking about is the homeless people. Right.
Correct.
I know it's a big thing. I met with Pastor Hammond about the same issue. They have a little different take. Because with Chief Breezy, there's a lot of services and time and hours that are spent taking calls from people. Because even at our office, we've had people who sometimes sleep in the back, and you want to be compassionate as a business owner, but from a liability standpoint, if something happens to them, you're sometimes liable. You know,
of course.
So there's a balance there, but we need every time. Anyways, the Chief Breezy was saying that if something happened, if something happens with behavioral health, you have to take them to Merced County. That's sometimes a lost day for their police officers.
And I work with a group over in Merced that when we're dealing with the homelessness, the children, the mental health, and all those different areas, what we've got to do is begin to put everybody in the room.
Yeah.
We got to have the police, we got to have the mental health people, we got to have the school people, those individuals, so we can come up with real solutions. We know we got a homeless problem. I work with Pastor Hammond. I'm part of the coalition myself. You know,
Well, and I think Chief Breezy just got appointed to
correct.
I think there was 9, if I'm correct. Don't get me correct.
Yeah, well,
I think it's about 9 additional
I
members.
missed the last meeting, so I got to catch up. So, but I'm part of Continuum of Care.
Yeah,
That's what it's
Continuum of
called.
Care.
And so we're trying to do our best, you know. And sad to say, in some cities you got the not in my backyard mentality.
Yeah.
You know, we want to overlook and ignore the homeless people, but they're here
You can't.
and they're not going nowhere. And some of them are chronically homeless, but they don't want to be. They want to stay where they are. And so we got to come up with real solutions. And as the county supervisor, that falls in your jurisdiction is just as much because you got to deal with 5 separate entities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so we applaud you for wanting to even deal with that. What other issues do you see are facing the West Side?
There's not. There's you know we always want water. We always want water. We have to be able to store water, right? That's been going on in Las Vegas. Right now, I think the snowpack, because I was just listening to it the other day, it's not as good as it's been in the past, right? And the rain, it hasn't rained. I think it rained yesterday, but outside of that, it hasn't. We haven't had that much rain. But we need to be able to store water. But there's not just, and I'll talk about a few more issues.
Go ahead.
But there's not just one issue. You know, you got the homelessness, you got safety, right? So you got sheriff, and even though the city of Los Banos, the police department, and Los Banos aren't directly the supervisor's responsibility, you have to work with those services, right? The sheriff obviously falls under the city council. I mean, the supervisor's responsibility. But even another one that doesn't get a lot of attention is all the boards and commissions. The supervisor is responsible for putting commissioners on
That's
over
right.
20,
30
boards and supervisors. So
correct.
that's those people need to be representative of the people of District 5.
So basically, he's the ex officio CEO of all those boards and commissions.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's a
real
lot
work.
of influence,
Real work.
And they're from Housing Authority. I was from First 5. They have what was the other one that I seen? There's economic ones, Planning Commission, which is a big one. And so that's another responsibility that not everybody thinks about.
Right.
And go ahead.
So you got to get up to speed, you know, and all of that. And even now, as you're campaigning, you're trying to educate yourself, and then there may be some elements that don't want you to be educated and have you put you at a disadvantage. I mean, you know, come on, you know, politics ain't the nicest thing in the world all the time.
Well, I'll say this. I've had the opportunity. I've reached out to all the city managers, police chiefs.
Smart move.
Right. And everybody has, fortunately, they've met with me.
Good.
The mayor's met with me. Chief Breezy has actually stopped by the office because we're playing email tag. But Alex, the city manager, has met with me. And so we're still meeting with folks. And I think, and this is just me, when we get elected, when we run for public office service, you have to get out to the people to find out what it is that's important to them.
Yes.
Right?
I agree.
We assume a lot of times you get elected and you know all the answers. And that's not how it should be.
So you dealt with April already out in
Well,
Dos
I
Palos?
haven't. I've reached out to her,
Okay.
but we're still working.
April? Call this man. Hey,
And
man.
I actually
And
did-
Mr. Fonseca, too. Yeah.
I send her a card and I give her an email.
Wonderful young lady, because I live here in Los Banos, but I pastor in Dos Palos, of course, and so, you know, when you're in the community like we are, you know, you got to deal with all the levels. So but April's a wonderful young lady. She's homegrown. She grew up in there. Like, she's the first female mayor in the history of the city of Dos Palos. And Mr. Fonseca, the city manager, he's an excellent guy to work with, as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, you know, and San Antonio and the other places. I've been here since 2002. I got you beat by a day or two. But you learned and you move around. My dear friend Melvin Will took me around and introduced me when I first got here to all the people. And I'm grateful for all that favor. So I'm gonna pass some of it on to you and to get it ready. Here, I got 2 more questions, and I know you got a busy day, and we're gonna get this up and get it ready. The West Side has thousands of residents who travel to the Bay Area. Sometimes they call us the commuter community. The West Side has thousands of residents that travel from here to the Bay Area daily. We have, God, how many people do you know? And I know we were called Los Banos used to be the town you go through to get to. We're changing that. So how can we provide, or your ideas to provide more employment opportunities to this Westside community? What are you going to do to help bring some real business in here?
One of the things, when in meeting with the mayor, we said 17,000 people leave every day. Right. 17,000, but that's not the only. And I know a lot. You know a lot of them. Okay, they do it to work, right? So it's not that they're leaving their responsibilities behind. But when their children aren't being taken care of adequately, right? If they have to raise themselves, that's a lot of strain on the citizens. That's a lot of strain on the family. So it's not just the fact that the jobs are they're leaving to the jobs. There's a lot of side effects that are from them leaving.
Oh yes.
But one of the things that we did, one of the things I believe we need to do is we need to, as a supervisor, we need to come to the bigger businesses in town. And the only reason I say the bigger businesses, because you start there. You start with the bigger business. You come to them and say, hey, what do you need from us? Right? What is it? And that doesn't happen. We started walking, when we first announced that we're running our campaign, we went to a lot of the businesses on Pacheco. We said, we're just coming by because to let you know that we're running. And then we asked them how many public officials have come by? 0. Nobody's come by. Not to say that nobody's ever come by, but as far as those businesses that we visited, which is quite a few on Pacheco, nobody went by. So it's important for us as a supervisor, as an elected official, to get to the businesses, find out what they need to expand so we can get jobs, not minimum wage jobs, and I'm not against minimum wage jobs because we all need it, but we need jobs where people can work here for 20 years. Because people can work here for 30 years.
You're talking about careers.
Careers.
Versus just the regular job. And I mean, minimum wage is going up. I won't get into that horse. That's a horse that I don't ride. You know, I don't have a regular daytime job. I'm a pastor, so you know I do a lot of stuff, and a lot of my stuff's pro bono, so you know how that goes. But in helping out, and like I say, we know this community that we face with every day. Like I say, 17,000 people, they buy some gas here, they're gone. Their kids suffer, then they come back. You know, to raise a child as a commuter is tough.
But they're doing it for their family. Right. Most of these people are doing it for their family. But also what it does is it takes away the time that they can be involved in the community. Right. If you look, like people complain about traffic, and because you got the bypass, which is another issue. Okay. But people complain about traffic. City council meetings, and I was at a city council meeting last week. Okay. They were talking about the Caltrans light. People say go to city council meetings. Okay. They're coming home at 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. Okay. So let's just say they can make it. They don't want to go. Right? And it's not because they don't care. They care about the community that they live in. Just from a time standpoint, it's difficult for them to make and be involved if you're constantly on the road.
Well, that's why we look to people like yourself to say the people we can trust to handle that stuff, because we've got to live. You know, it ain't like the old days. My dad was in the Navy, and my mom stayed at home. And then as things got, you know, finances got tighter because things got more expensive, inflation, then my mom got a job. Now, my mom worked 21 years civil service, but they were always home every night, and my dad was out to sea. But so I understand all that. I'm a child of the 60s, so you understand, but times have certainly changed, you know. So I applaud you. I applaud you for coming to the table, finding the information out takes time, and wanting to have the heart to be a blessing, that's what I call it, to this community, and I appreciate you for that.
And I'll say this: my wife supports me 1,000%. That's one of the reasons that I'm sitting here. Yeah. She supports me 1,000%.
Somewhere I read behind every good man is a great woman. That's somewhere I read that. I don't know who said that, but it's really kind of true. And so how about that? Let me get this last question, and then I'll let you get out of here. How would you improve issues or begin to improve issues on the West Side? What's some of the first things you want to implement? Give us an idea. Give me one or two of the things you really want to get into right when you hit the door, should you be elected.
I think the biggest thing that we need to do is work on getting local jobs here. Okay. I think then career jobs, not career just something like, because that's ultimately, Because if we're in property management, so we see rentals, there's no rentals.
Believe
Housing,
me.
we didn't even get to talk about housing. Housing's another issue, okay? But rental prices are going up. So the first thing that I would do is we have to come to the table, talk to some of the job providers locally and around, and I'll give the city and some of the local municipalities, they're spending the money, they're spending some money to try to recruit jobs. So that's number one. But two, work with the transportation. I think we need to get the transportation. We need to work with safety, the police, right?
Okay.
Because I know gangs are an issue, right? That's probably something that. So we used to have a gang task force in the area. That's something that we need to get back to.
Okay.
So lastly, is we need to get some of the services for the West Side. We used to have a lot more services. We have the courthouse here. It's limited to what it takes, you know. But I know people that have to go to Merced, and most of them, if you work in the Bay Area or if you work somewhere else, you have to take the day off. That's a lost job. That's lost pay, lost wages for somebody who has to go to Merced. And I know we can't get all of them because there's budget restraints, but we can do a better job of getting the services here in the West Side.
That makes so much sense. You know, I got jury duty next month, so amen. I'm really looking forward to that one. You know, but listen, Richard, all I can say at this moment is thank you. Thank you for coming by Los Banos today and sharing some of your heart with what you want to do. I'm sure everybody else will get through here one day, but I want to be the first one to wish you the best.
Hey,
I don't believe in luck, but I wish you the best in what you do.
I'll say this, that one gentleman told me one time, he goes, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, I can live with that.
So,
okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you this morning for being with us here. And Mr. Richard Delapaz Jr., and I like that junior, okay? And DLP Real Estate over at 1272 4th Street. You want to go by, that's the campaign headquarters. You want to call him. You want to find out some more about what he's about. Call him at 209-826-6245. I'm Bruce Rivers. This is Los Banos Today. We love you.
Municipalities, they're spending the money, they're spending some money to try to recruit jobs. So that's number one. But two, work with the transportation. I think we need to get the transportation. We need to work with safety, the police, right? Okay. Because I know gangs are an issue, right? That's probably something that. So we used to have a gang task force in the area. That's something that we need to get back to. Okay. So lastly, is we need to get some of the services for the West Side. We used to have a lot more services. We have the courthouse here. It's limited to what it takes, you know. But I know people that have to go to Merced, and most of them, if you work in the Bay Area or if you work somewhere else, you have to take the day off. That's a lost job. That's lost pay, lost wages for somebody who has to go to Merced. And I know we can't get all of them because there's budget restraints, but we can do a better job of getting the services here in the West Side.
That makes so much sense. You know, I got jury duty next month, so amen. I'm really looking forward to that one. You know, but listen, Richard, all I can say at this moment is thank you. Thank you for coming by Los Banos today and sharing some of your heart with what you want to do. I'm sure everybody else will get through here one day, but I want to be the first one to wish you the best.
Hey,
I don't believe in luck, but I wish you the best in what you do.
I'll say this, that one gentleman told me one time, he goes, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, I can live with that.
So,
okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you this morning for being with us here. And Mr. Richard Delapaz Jr., and I like that junior, okay? And DLP Real Estate over at 1272 4th Street. You want to go by, that's the campaign headquarters. You want to call him. You want to find out some more about what he's about. Call him at 209-826-6245. I'm Bruce Rivers. This is Los Banos Today. We love you.